Okay, so it has been a couple days since we did notes, and typically during the economics portion of this course, people just fall asleep because, how many of you make money regularly? Okay, a couple of you, so like 2 or 3 of you, 4 or 5 maybe. So economics is more of a abstract concept, meaning if you don't actually make money or deal with money, it's a bit hard to understand. You don't have any tangible, actual experience with it, right? But how many of you buy a lunch like at least once a week? Okay. So you have a basic understanding of expenses, costs, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Hopefully the game Cash Flow 101, we'll play it again. This class didn't seem to like it as much as my Block C class, though I will admit. I think some of you really enjoyed it. We'll play that again just so you keep practicing some of those fundamentals, because that game does an excellent job of teaching you just basic economics, personal economics as well, which is something you will not be able to avoid as you continue to age. Okay. Continuing on with the chapter, we're going to look at more aspects of economics. In chapter 7, 8, and 9, continue on these different ideas of how not only an individual, unfortunately our course emphasizes more on how a country, how a government should think of money, and how a society. Better way to think about it is, how should you as an individual think of your money, and what should you do with that? Building on the concepts we learned about previously, looking at a product. What determines the price of a product? Well, that's good. We'll hold on to that, okay? In the game, a lot of you got offered small deals of stock options. And the game randomizes how much that stock option is worth. So hopefully one day I'll have enough information, I'll have built a little course on how do you actually determine when a stock, a share of a company is worth, like it's a good deal or a bad deal, right? Because a lot of people are buying things like Tesla, they're buying Apple stocks, and for the most part Tesla's very overinflated right now because they don't produce a lot of cars, so people are still betting on a potential value. But that doesn't mean that Elon Musk his company isn't doing a lot of work developing good resources, okay, or technology. Apple is a company and a product we're a lot more familiar with. I don't know if these numbers are accurate, but I would assume this number has gone up. Can we all see that? So it says basically the Apple iPhone 12 Pro, its price range was from $1,549, the base model, to about $2,000, so $1,959. And so a good question to ask is, well, what determines the price of a product? Like, what are you willing to pay for an iPhone? And you already mentioned a really good idea. What determines the price of an item? Quality. What does quality mean? What is that?
How good a product is.
How good a product is. Okay, so with the iPhone, like, how many of you have an iPhone? Raise your hand. So majority of you. How many of you like the iPhone? Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay. So you like your product. How many of you feel like it's good quality? I'm like 50-50. Okay, but most of us think it's good quality. How many of you have dropped your iPhone and cracked the screen? Okay. How many of you just dropped your phone but not cracked the screen? So that's one item in the product, the screen. And back in the day, like during the iPhone like 7 to 11 or 10 era, when I was in high school, I remember iPhones were notorious for being dropped and cracking the screen. And Samsungs didn't do that. I don't know why. But everyone I knew with an iPhone had a smashed up screen. I don't know. Like the older iPhones, I'm just trying to say. I remember when the first iPhone came out, it was chunky.
It's probably because those phones are made of, those screens are made of glass.
Yeah.
Androids have more durable.
So it's a different product. It has a different quality and it has a different price. Okay. You were gonna add what determines the price of a product? So you have quality.
I have my hand up for what quality is.
Okay. Anything else determine the price of a product? Ah, what it does. Okay. So what does the iPhone do? Real basic. Takes nice pictures. It calls people. How many of you call? How many of you make phone calls like regularly? Raise your hand. I actually don't believe you kids. There's no way you just call your friends. You don't just send them text. That's good. That's actually good. You should call. Right. Okay. So you can take good photos. You can call people. What else can you do with the iPhone that makes it worth its money? Text people. Storage. What about that the biggest thing that you use it for? One might be games. The other is using the
Phone.
internet, man.
Oh.
Using the internet connects you to the whole world. Your phone.
If you have a phone and you're in the desert, it doesn't really help.
Are you ever in a desert?
No.
No. So for myself, like I traveled around the world for 2.5 months. I didn't have a laptop. I just used my cell phone for everything. Like booking flights, making sure I was going to the right airport, right time, doing internet searches, booking a hostel, finding different things. I just used my cell phone. So it's a very practical device. And for that reason, it makes it worth paying for to an extent. But now that I'm home and I don't really need it, often I feel like throwing my iPhone at a wall because it makes my life worse almost. It's actually kind of annoying. Most of the calls are scam calls, right? And I don't really text my friends. I usually just see them. If they don't live in Edmonton, I just don't talk to them for a while, here and there.
You just see people.
Right. What else determines the quality of an item? What goes into the price? So let's say this iPhone costs $2,000. Why? What else is involved?
How much it costs to make it?
How much it costs to make it, right? And we'll break that down soon. Maybe you already looked at the notes. Materials, cost of making, yeah.
The amount that is the actual amount of the item that's made could affect the price.
Say that again.
The amount of the item that's made.
Ah, the available items. So let's say there's 1 billion iPhones. Okay, maybe it's cheaper. But if there was like 50,000 iPhones made and they auctioned them off, maybe people would be willing to pay like $5,000 to get the newest iPhone, $10,000. Now, we probably couldn't afford that. I know I can't. I also would never fork out that much money for a phone. Okay. What else? So, how many of you have gone to Canadian Tire, like Home Depot? Do you know these stores? You know what they are, right? And do you know, like even Walmart? Every like spring, they have on the outside in the parking lot, they have like a greenhouse and you can buy plants. How many of you have ever seen an iPhone plant?
No.
None of you?
In the Apple store.
An Apple store could be an iPhone plant. Okay, cool. So where do baby iPhones come from? Because they don't come from mommy and daddy iPhones.
Charging for it.
Where do they come from? Did they grow on a tree?
No.
Labor. Somebody has to make it, right? Like somebody has to put it together. Somebody has to design it. Are you paying potentially for someone's labor?
Yes.
A lot of the cost could be labor. And labor is many things, right? So when we get into the environmental stuff, I'll explain this more. But labor is like so if you went digging into the ground, can you just find iPhone screens? No, what can you find in the ground that makes an iPhone screen?
Gold.
Glass.
You can find sand, which you melt and make into glass.
Wait.
Plastic.
How does
You
that
can find
work?
you can find gold, which goes into the processor. But gold in the ground is it's all like manged up, right? Manged up. It's like a lump, right? You could throw it at someone, hypothetically, if you found a big chunk, right? But gold doesn't look like it does in your processor. So all of this labor and all the movement isn't just like, hey, we dug up 12,000 iPhone screens. Look at that, we can make 12,000 iPhones. No, you have all of this material that gets dug up out of the ground, because it usually comes from the ground, and it gets transported from one spot to another as they refine it and change it into a product that they can put together into an iPhone. So breaking down the price, you have the processor, it costs a bit of money. You have the battery, that costs money as well, right? They have to use labor to get the stuff. All of the connectivity and sensor items, they cost money. Everything. And when you add it all up, I don't know how accurate this is, but I wouldn't be surprised if, the iPhone, all of the prices go into it, add together to less than $500. Wouldn't surprise me. So where do you think the other $1,000 comes from?
Paying the people that do all that.
I thought that was included.
Was it?
No, it's not included in this, so this is the physical item. Okay, so some of that $1,000 comes from paying the people who designed the iPhone, who figured out how to put it together. That's called intellectual property. You have an idea, you put it together, you sell your idea to an extent. It's closely related.
Some comes from the name.
Some of it comes from the name. What do you mean by that? How much is your name worth?
0.
No way, you'd sell yourself for zero, you just give yourself away. Okay, we're selling that guy at $0. Any bidders? Anyone want him? His name is free. You can take him. Okay. Oh look, he's already got him. You held on to him. Okay, so the name, what do you mean by that?
People want like the Apple brand.
No way. Why would people want the Apple brand? What does it do? I was just reading. You kids are reading Laws of Power. I'm reading Robert Greene's Laws of Human Nature. What does that say about our human nature? Like, why do you want an Apple phone instead of like a Nokia? You kids even know what a Nokia is? You laugh. You laugh. That's so mean. What if somebody had a Nokia? They feel so bad. You're laughing at them. What is so special about an Apple phone? What does it do to the person? Take friends.
It gives you like bragging rights. I think.
Bragging rights, no way. So would you respect someone more or less if they did or didn't have an iPhone?
Yes.
So would you disrespect them or would you respect them? Like somebody doesn't have an iPhone. Would you send text to a green text? Like would you do that? No?
Well,
You're an elitist.
I have friends with my neighbor who lives across the recently has an Android phone.
Oh my goodness.
Why would you say that? That's so mean.
Because they're making fun because
Oh, you're speaking to someone else. I thought you were talking to him.
No.
Oh, it
I
goes on
I got looked at by 2 people because I'm a
So you're a green text.
yeah.
Everybody shun this guy right now. Green text.
Wow, I use.
So having an iPhone could be, back in my day, people used to do this. They used to have Gucci belts, okay? And then they take their shirt, they tuck it in like that so you could see the Gucci belt, right? And this was like, look at me, your brother did this, okay, right? How old's your brother?
23.
20, oh, he's a little bit younger than me. I'm surprised they're still doing it by then. People are showing off their items, their products. I don't have my iPhone on me, but you put that iPhone upside down so people can see the Apple logo. And maybe that girl you're trying to flirt with likes you more because you have an Apple logo, right? Or people see the Gucci belt and think, oh, that person's cool, he's got a Gucci belt, right? Or they wear like really big on their shirt, it says Boss, Supreme. Supreme was ridiculous. Supreme was selling plastic bags, Ziploc bags for how much money? How much? No way you have a Supreme sticker on your Apple laptop. What else? What other stickers do you have on there?
Just stickers.
What's that one on the bottom?
Oh, I like the
What about
space
one on the
gray.
bottom?
I won them from.
Turn it around, turn it around.
What do you mean turn it around? Nothing.
No, flip it up.
Remember that sticker you
Oh,
used?
hey.
Okay.
We don't talk about that.
So that extra $1,000 can come from how we feel when we own a certain product. And it's up to you to decide as a person if that value is real. Please stop that. And someone was crinkling stuff back there. It was you. I see you. You're hiding it now. Okay. People will pay $17,000 for something like a boat just to feel good. Maybe get something from other people. Something that we can't talk about right now.
Maybe you can have what?
Okay. Oh wait, like human nature. There's a reason why people buy property at the beach. Or has anyone been to Vancouver? Has anyone been to like Stanley Park? Okay, nearby Stanley Park, did you see those tall buildings? Why do you think someone would want to live there? Like right there by the water. 'Cause living by the water is a stupid idea. The water can just come do this at one day and just like Noah's flood. It can just come do this and that building's gone. It's history. So why would someone live there?
It looks nice, has a nice view.
It looks nice. It has a nice view. It will impress people. Maybe not the type of people you want in your life, but they'll be impressed regardless. You might fork out an arm and a leg every month in rent, but my God, it looks good. Right? You can take a nice little selfie with the sun setting in the background, Stanley Park, the ocean. Look, just like that. You can throw up the peace sign as well, right? You can make the duck lips. You made duck lips, didn't you? Right? And then you can impress your friends, and if you impress your friends, you feel good. That's where that extra money comes from. That's what you're paying for, to impress people potentially, right? We have a lot of hands up. We'll take yours first. You had your hand up.
I said, it could make you feel like you're above them.
Yeah, you might feel superior to them. Like, let's say if you're driving a Mercedes Benz and you just think, to hell with that Honda, I'm gonna cut this person off. It's a Honda, he should be behind me. He should stop for me. Now, there's a really interesting psychological research study. They say that people will wait longer to honk when the car in front of them is nice. Like let's say you have a Mercedes Benz or a BMW. It's a rather nice car, right? What do you know about cars, man? Be quiet, okay? Let's say you have a fancy vehicle, a Maserati, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, and you're just stopped at the light. You're texting because you got a Lamborghini. Like, what color's your Bugatti, right? You're just sitting there texting. The light's green. The psychological studies say that the person, like let's say you're driving a Honda Civic, you're not gonna honk at that guy in the Lamborghini, because maybe you think he's up here. Maybe he or she is up here, right? Because like those cars cost a lot of money. You gotta be doing something, right? Some people sell drugs, right? It's kind of interesting. We treat people differently based on the labels and logos they present. As pathetic and sad as that might seem, it's the truth. We do it all the time, right? If someone's wearing dressed like a bum, like a homeless person, you might move around them. But if someone's wearing a nice suit, like I do on occasion, you might still get out of my way, right? Why would you get in my way? Why are you getting in my way in the hallways, kids? I thought I trained every grade 9 very well. So you don't stand in the middle of the hallway. You do that all the time. You move to the side so people can walk through. Why would I walk around?
Well, why would I move?
Because you're in the middle. Okay. Look at this. So some more costs. Shipping. So I don't know, but I'm assuming we haven't yet invented the tech. No way you're yawning like that. I'm messing with you. We haven't invented the technology to just teleport things and people. So the iPhone, look at you. Well, you don't have your phones on you. They're back here. Let's see. Let's pull an iPhone up. One that doesn't have a case on. You all have cases. It's so sad. Are you scared of your own hand? Okay, it doesn't say whose phone is this anyways. You got the Eiffel Tower. That's cool. Okay. These phones don't say. But if you look at the back of some of the iPhones, where are they made? Where are they manufactured?
California.
They're physically manufactured. It could be Taiwan. It could be China. Right? It's somewhere in Asia. Now those elitist punks at Apple make sure to say, "Oh, but we designed it in California," because the people in California, they also think they're up here. Right? One of you two said you wanted to live in California. I'm not saying that's you, but the Silicon Valley people, sometimes they feel like they're up here. Okay?
Sure, actually.
No way you're begging to be switched right now. This guy was asleep. He's peacefully minding his own business, but he's about to get moved because we already had that arrangement. Okay?
Why am I going to get moved?
Not you. One of those two is going to get moved. Okay? So, shipping costs. Like, you need to transport these things. That costs money per unit. You also have advertising. How many of you have seen Apple advertisements? How many of you even watch advertisements? Like, you should have an ad blocker on your devices, kids. Why would you watch advertisements?
I would specifically have an ad blocker for a certain ad that I don't want.
So the company spends millions of dollars. How many of you have seen the Apple advertisement? I should play one for you later. Okay? Don't they look so cool? All those people. You're shaking your head no. They look cool. Like they're having fun. They're listening to music. They're jamming out. They're diverse. Everybody gets to see a little bit of themselves. Well, they have to pay for that. Development cost. Development iPhones, right? Like they're almost essentially identical year to year. The only thing that's not identical is the price. The price keeps going up, but the quality stays about the same.
What about the camera, okay?
It's like minimal.
They add more.
It's so minimal though.
Why?
I remember listening to a podcast that talked about why that is with phones, but I forget what they're saying. Anyways, employee costs. Okay, so you got to pay the person who made it. So you have all these extra costs. Yes.
This isn't rough shape, but how much do you think the parts are for this? It's obviously
A
lower
Nintendo
because
Switch.
it's obviously lower because two broken joysticks.
I'd say like 75 to 100 bucks.
For parts alone,
Yeah, it's like plastic. It's got some
And then-
processors. Like
and then
probably
the
really
name
cheap.
and then the name probably adds to the price.
Maybe.
Sort of like Apple.
Okay, so total cost roughly we're looking at about $500, but the iPhone, the base models sell for $1,500. Kids, I'm telling you right now, you can go to Kijiji, Facebook Marketplace, you can buy yourself a vehicle for less. Why do you think people pay so much for an iPhone?
Like you buy vehicles with it.
You could buy.
You can go to the public library, sign onto their computers, you can buy a car.
Yeah, okay, that's.
Why are people willing to fork out so much money for that? In Cash Flow 101, when you looked at your expenses, did you have to give your whole expense right away?
No.
No,
Yeah.
how did your expenses work? Every paycheck you got taxed, you had your bills come up, you had different expenses. So, like myself and many other people, I didn't pay for my iPhone outright. I didn't hand over like $1,200. You could. It'd be kind of silly. Why?
Because you don't have
Why would I pay $1,200 up front? That's insane.
You're gonna go pay it later.
So instead, we sign up for monthly payments to pay it off.
Yeah.
Right? Because many of us spend money on things we don't have, like a $17,000 boat. Then you got to take a loan, or you're always running in the red. People do this. Makes it easier to buy, but then it keeps you in a cycle where you're always spending money and consuming, which may not be the best for you. And then you die one day, and then you have to buy your grave plot. Like, you can't even bury yourself without paying for it.
Wait,
For
so
so
when
very-
people die, where do they go?
They have to pay.
Well, it depends on your religious belief. Where do they go?
No.
Where do they go physically?
Yeah.
If
They
you're
dig
lucky,
it
they
shut.
bury you. If you're unlucky, like, you just rot away somewhere. I don't know.
Where does your debt go when you die? Where does your debt go?
You die in the middle of the street, hopefully people recognize that you're dead and not taking a nap. Yeah, hopefully people realize you're dead and you're not taking a nap.
I'm asking.
Yeah, I like.
How many of you saw like a homeless person sleeping somewhere and decided to poke them just to make sure they were alive or dead?
Nah, that'd be funny though.
So, you did? Actually?
Yeah.
And were they alive? Okay, so they were alive. What about you? Is the person alive?
He didn't wake up, so probably drunk.
So who knows? You walked away, right? So you don't know, right? So you really don't know the answer to the question. It really depends on what happens. Yes.
Where does your debt go when you like die? Does it go to your family?
No, actually, I believe that's illegal. You can't. So if I spend a whole bunch, like let's say your mom spends a whole bunch of money in Vegas, right? Blows it all away. She's super in debt. Okay, that's different because maybe she owes the casino, right? But let's say she has a whole bunch of credit card payments. I believe, from my understanding, ethically speaking, the debt dies with her. Like, you know.
So I should, when I'm like
Yeah.
80, I should just buy my kids a bunch of stuff.
I don't know. I don't know for sure. Like
Cause like what are they?
they
gonna
can't
do?
just give it to you because you didn't spend the money.
Like what are they gonna do? Put me in jail? Like, I'm gonna die.
I don't think they can, but they can try to pressure you into paying it and say like, hey, your parents had this debt. But I'm pretty sure that's illegal. You'd have to look into that. I don't know too much about it. But we're talking right by the camera. It's picking up everything you're saying.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, good.
So
Is it?
again, the economy is a very abstract concept. You know, it doesn't make sense to my grade 12s. It probably doesn't make sense to most of you either. The economy is just about everything to do with finances, economics, with money. the production of stuff. Stuff is everything. Stuff is like the paper, the pencil. Stuff is the hair products you use. It's the pencil, it's the textbook, it's the kayak I thought about buying yesterday. It's the food, everything. Everything that gets produced, made, that's stuff. Now, if you live somewhere where you're producing a lot of things, that's good for your economy. It's good for your country. Because you're making stuff. Yeah, it was very good for China in the 80s because like everyone in China, like a lot of people in China were literally starving to death because they were communists and they opened up their economy. I only understand this a bit, right? I have to do more research, but they opened up their economy. So they went from planned to saying like the government knows best to a little bit more over here to how about we actually have a profit motive, we allow other companies to invest, and we privatize some things, and we allow more jobs to be made and more stuff to be produced. All of a sudden China got really wealthy. And like, I don't know, 500 million people in the world weren't starving, which is a fantastic thing. Okay? So we have the production of stuff being controlled by the government on the left side, plan, and we have the production of stuff being controlled by individuals and companies over here on the right side with the market economy. Okay? And Canada's somewhere in the middle. So in Canada we have some companies that are owned by the government. I think Epcor got sold out. Like I think it's somewhat private. I'm not 100% sure, but when I was working with the city, people were telling me that it's not fully government. But energy, right? So again, the lights are off in the classroom. That's a personal choice. We flick the lights on, the lights come on. That's energy. So is the stuff that keeps the room warm, right? Whether it comes from the sun or from fossil fuels, right? What was I saying? I get distracted every now and then. Okay. And you can also think of this as who should be in charge of your money. On this side, it's more like not you. And on this side, it's you should be in charge of your money. And people vary on that. Right? Some people are very pro taxes and social programs, which is like more over here, right? Well, taxes pay for a variety of things, right? So if you like those services, right? Social programs are nice. So like maybe you feel guilty that there's a person laying on the floor at the LRC and sleeping outside. Well, what should be done about that? Right? So people on this side, on the market economy, where the choice is yours. Like how many of you donate to homelessness? Like I don't. What does that mean? So what do you do?
Well, on Christmas, I gave them some Christmas presents.
Okay, so it's good, right? You're helping people who are less fortunate. Now, how many of you think that homelessness is a problem that should be solved? A couple of you. But four of you think it should be solved, but only one of you did something. What's up with that? So who should do something?
No one.
Everyone.
Them. They should.
Everyone. Everyone should. How? How should everyone do something to solve that problem?
Open up more jobs and make
They should get their money.
real estate cheaper.
Have make it easier to own a home.
Make it easier to live.
But homelessness is rarely solely a problem of not having a house.
We should only tax the rich.
Meaning, no way you said that, you communist.
Perfect.
Meaning that, like, you know, people who are homeless usually suffer with several problems. And it's not just the fact that they don't have a house. It's maybe like the last issue that occurred for them.
They might be making other homeless.
Because they ultimately don't have a house, but you look at the steps, right? Like maybe that person suffered with alcoholism. Maybe they had mental health issues. Maybe they were abused as a child. Maybe they don't function very well, so they can't show up to work at the same time. Chatting by the camera again. It's always you turned around though. Now you're so quiet.
We're not touching his hair.
They're touching my hair.
You're the only one touching your hair right now.
No, but
You're touching your own hair, thinking, you touched my hair. Like, it's your hand. Just do what I do, just shave your head. Then they can't touch your hair.
Good idea.
What? No.
I'll get a buzz cut.
Yeah, so addressing your comment, now you're turning around and talking. Addressing your comment, you know, people over here on this left side think, oh, you should only tax the rich. Who's rich though? Like who's
Bill
rich?
Gates, like, get
Not really.
Like I'm rich. I'm rich.
You're not.
You're
not
rich.
rich.
Absolutely. Everybody in this room is rich.
Yeah. What do you mean?
How?
What do you mean? You get to go to school. You don't pay $1 for that. You have clean running water. You have electricity. You have services. You know, you have functioning roads. We're all wealthy.
Like bougie.
We're all wealthy. Hey, listen. Like most of us, our families probably make more than 16,000 Canadian dollars every year. Which $16,000 isn't much for Canada's standard. But if you live somewhere else in the world, you might not make more than 16,000 Canadian dollars a year. How many months are there, kids, in a year? 12. 16 divided by 12.
Something.
Like something small. Like 1 I don't know, 1. I'm not a math teacher. Okay? But like, let's say you make 10,000 Canadian dollars in the year. There's 12 months. You're not even making $1,000 a month.
That's so sad.
Some people are really poor. Some people make less than $1 a day. One US dollar, less than $1 US every day. So when we say, oh, we should tax the rich, like who are you referring to? Because we're rich.
Like, not
Like look, you're fed, you're clothed, you're warm, you're sheltered.
like the super rich people.
Why? Why just
Because,
them?
like, they got no business being that bougie.
What do you mean? What if I like,
What?
why should we take it from them?
Like, if you
Let's say,
if you like do something to like get money, that's cool. But like people that just like buy stuff and then it just goes up and they just get lucky, that's not cool.
why is that not cool? What if I use my brain to go, oh hey, this is a really good deal. This is a $1 stock. I should buy a bunch of that. And then 5 years from now, it's a $30 stock.
You just keep it all the same.
So we should tax people the same. It's a complicated issue. Wow, here I was thinking you were a contribute, but you just want to leave.
I have been.
You took a nap, yeah. Even she knows. Go ahead. Okay. So, who should get taxed is very complicated. You want to
Look at
add?
this angle. Look at this angle.
Hey, okay, no. What are you doing? Why were you screwing around over there? Where are you going? We're having a
She
conversation.
said I could go to the washer.
Yeah, but then you got up. You like messed around with him. You were playing a little game. What was that?
I said hello.
Should be his watch.
I don't have a watch.
Okay, go. Leave.
I have a watch.
Get out of here.
Should be
This angle.
percentage.
Should be a percentage. And how do we determine the percentage? Okay, so when you say it should be a percentage, what does that mean?
Like,
Explain more.
everyone gets taxed 5% of their income, like something like that. If they have
That's
more
it.
income, they have more taxes to pay. If they have nothing, then there's less taxes to pay.
Ah, I like that. That's not bad. So we give everyone the same tax percentage. Let's say 5% of everything you earn is taxed by the government.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you earn $1,000 a month,
It's like
5% is
$50.
like $50, $5, 50, something like that. I'm not a math teacher. I actually suck at math. Okay, but if you make 1 million, what's 5% of 1 million? Real quick.
That's like
1 million
5,000.
multiplied by decimal 0.5.
5,000?
Somebody do it real quick. Oh, you don't have your cell phone.
50,000.
And you have a calculator. No way he's gonna pull a cell phone out right now.
5,000?
He's got a calculator. What's 1 million multiplied by 0.05?
What's multiplied? Divide it.
500 something. Wait.
Maybe 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000.
It's $5,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
500 something.
Shut up.
You know what? So at least everyone's getting taxed at the same. Which for a millionaire, 5% is nothing. But for someone who makes, you know, $1,200 a month, $2,000 a month, it's still a small amount. They get to keep more of their money. Here's another idea. What if we taxed what you bought more?
No.
And a luxury tax.
No way.
So like, let's say you really want to buy that boat because you want to impress that girl who lives next door. And that boat costs $25,000, right? Like that's what they sell it for. But then there's a big luxury tax. Like, what do you need a $25,000 boat for? There's no, like, where are you gonna take a $25,000 boat in Alberta?
Like to the water.
Lake. Was it?
Yeah, we'll take it down to Lake Telford.
The,
Yeah. Put your,
Great
put your
Lakes, the
giant
Great
boat
Lakes.
in there and mess with all the geese. Yeah.
the Great Lakes.
So the thing is, you can tax people's paycheck, how much you make every month, but you're basically taxing their labor, which I don't know if that's right or wrong. Now, because everyone has to work, everyone has to produce. You can't just sit around and be a bum. You can for a while, maybe your parents will let you because, I don't know, they don't know what to do with you, right? But you don't want to be that person.
Nice.
Or you could tax people a small amount for their work, their production, because the problem with taxing people who are very productive is they're also very productive. Like you're not very productive. You haven't taken any notes. You're like down here. This guy allegedly finished his notes and all his questions.
I did finish all my questions.
Let's see. He actually did. So this guy's being very productive. Well, you missed a couple questions, but that's okay.
Like-
He's being very productive. Should we punish him?
Yes.
Okay, what if my punishment bounces off his head and also hits you?
That's like my fault. Here we go.
That's an interesting thing to think of. If someone is being productive, they're doing what they're supposed to do. Should we punish them?
It's kind of
In
dumb.
your head, no. Is taxing people punishing them?
Yes.
Sort of.
Kinda.
Kind of.
It's okay.
Believe me, because there's only 3 of you who raise your hand when I ask you when you're making money. Yeah, I just put a video out yesterday about how much money I make. Okay? I don't like how much I get taxed, but it ain't that bad. I'm still making money. Okay? When you start making money, you start getting taxed. Maybe you'll change your mind on that. Good question.
You have to pay for like the right to live in Canada though. All the stuff that you get. So it's like you're not being punished. You're getting like healthcare and all that. As like
I never go to the doctor.
I'll go to the doctor.
So hold on. It's important, grade 9s, to understand, like when you say everything to live for, what does that mean?
Like all the stuff that you get by living in Canada.
Like road.
Well, let's name some things. What do, like, we should understand, what do we get by living here?
School.
Education, but I'm done school. Just playing with you. Okay, I got education. It's a good thing.
Roads.
I can read. Roads. So I thought initially that roads were built by taxpayer dollars. My friend told me, and I had to look into this, a lot of it is royalties, like money made from the oil industry. So it's important to understand, where do these things actually come from? Right? But some things are provided by the government, like education. What else does the government help us with? Healthcare. It's not free, we pay for it. But it's public healthcare. Yeah. Right? If I ever need to go to the doctor, which I have, I got a surgery recently. I didn't pay anything for that out of my pocket. Felt pretty good. She's like flopped over like a dead fish back there. Like, is class that boring, kids? It must be. Like 3 kids are
Like
sleeping.
cash for it.
We will eventually.
What was the third one?
But I like talking about this stuff. It's interesting. I like making people think. Okay.
How long have you been a teacher for? Like, how long have you been a teacher?
This is my 2nd year on contract as a teacher. My 3rd year in the profession.
So, you get paid little more than like,
Yeah, so the longer you teach, the more education you have, because I think Mr. Suko has a master's.
And don't you get like more benefits or whatever?
No, benefits stay the same.
I thought you got more money the longer you been.
Yeah, the more you teach, the more you get paid. How does this connect?
How does it connect?
You
You
just
get
want to
taxed
talk,
more?
you just want to point out that Mr. Suko makes more money than me?
No, because you said earlier that.
Why are you mocking me? Now everyone's laughing at you.
You said that you weren't happy of the way things because you weren't money that you taxed for.
I wasn't, but then I did some introspection, self-reflection, and I realized I actually really like my job.
That rhymed.
Okay. And I get paid pretty decently, all things considered. Okay.
Introspection, self-reflection.
Yeah,
That rhymed.
it's good, you know? Like I'm doing pretty well for myself, all things considered. Again, some people make $1 a day. You know, and they don't have nice roads, and they don't have warm houses, and they don't have clean running water. Now, sure, there are some people who make so much more money than me, but guess what? They're probably working 3 times as hard as I do.
But
Maybe 4
just like
times.
Trudeau.
Maybe like, I really don't know what the guy does. I'm gonna be honest
Yeah, like what is the
with you. Man, the
money
guy
that
takes
comes
some
from
fancy
us?
vacations. Like my job doesn't give me like some cabin in the woods
What? How did they even?
that
get
I can
the-
escape to when my students are mean to me.
Like, where does the money come
Like
from?
imagine if when he laughed, my boss walked in and said, "Oh, hey, like we got a cabin in the woods for you. You can just like go there for a week." Sorry that kid laughed about how much you get paid. I don't get that. I just have to deal with it. You know, when the camera's off, I'll just no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I would never throw
What is
something
this-
at your head.
what is this money
I'd
even
throw it
come
at your body instead, because you'll live.
Does it
I'm
come
joking.
from like taxes?
What?
Like his money? Like his pay?
Yeah. So we pay public servants. How many of you are aware of the strike that's going on with the government? None of you. You're aware. Thank you. I like that.
Wait, is that like?
The government workers are striking. What do they strike? Like, what is a strike?
When you stop.
When you stop working.
When you stop working, you refuse to work because your employer won't negotiate your requests. The teachers almost striked this year. It was very close. It was about 50.5% of teachers said yes to the agreement. So about 49.5 or whatever. Again, I'm not good at math.
That would've
I've
been
said it
awesome.
several times in this video.
Why is that? How?
Because no school, no education.
Oh my gosh, free
It would have been great. I would have been partying it up. Okay?
Not because you
Um,
wouldn't have been getting paid.
So the teachers want more pay, want better class sizes because it's pretty manageable here. There's 31 of you on a good day, on like an ideal day. But my friend, she teaches in Edmonton Public. Like her smallest class is 37.
Holy
She was saying that there's some classes in that school they have like 42, 43 kids. It's actually bananas. It's crazy. Okay? So our union was having a negotiation with the government on teachers getting paid more, teachers having less class sizes, and we almost went on a strike. Okay, but we didn't because just enough teachers voted saying yes. Pretty sure I voted no to the agreement.
To go on strike. You didn't go on strike. Or you did.
I said no to the agreement, like what the government countered offered. I believe I did.
Oh. Okay.
Because part of it was also like supports. Like there's not a lot of supports for kids. It's actually sad. Like I taught in a school where I had 38 kids in my class, and about 10 of them couldn't speak English properly. This is grade 10, because they recently migrated. And from my understanding, there was no support for them to help learn the language, which is really sad. Because like, what's the point of them showing up to school? They might as well be working. At least you make a paycheck, right? So coming back to the government, only a couple of you are aware that all the government workers are on strike right now. They're not working because the government won't negotiate pay raises with them. I just saw a newspaper article headline just yesterday, kind of more alternative news. They're saying that during the pandemic, the government workers were the ones who got the most pay raises. So coming back to your question, who pays the government workers? Well, we all do when we pay taxes, more or less. That's how they get their money. That's how the Prime Minister gets his money. Right? And so the public is allowed to have an opinion to an extent on the strike because it's like, hey, your paychecks come out of our pockets. And I work for the government. I work roads and parks. So I worked on a little pothole crew. I fix roads, I fix potholes. Every day, I got to the job site, 7 a.m. Most days, we didn't start work until about 8, 8:30. Many days, we didn't start work until 9. So I made about many days, I made $46, and all I did was put on clothes and sit and listen. And I wasn't even listening half the time because the job instructions were so easy. And many days, the work day finished at like, we went from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Many days, we'd stop working at like 1. So it's inefficient. But we got paid pretty well. And people were still complaining at that job. It was so sad. Some people would whine about their jobs. It's like, what do you mean? I'm gonna say this story. It's kind of bad. Uh-oh. There's a lot of my colleagues complained. Many of them were like born and raised in Canada. And as I worked and shifted around different crews, I found that the only people who didn't complain about their jobs were the ethnic people who weren't born in Canada, myself included. It's kind of funny. I forget this one gentleman's name. He was from Africa, and him and I had like a 1-hour conversation during our 1.5 hour lunch. That was reasonable because we were waiting for the asphalt truck to come back. So we had a very long lunch because we were in downtown. Anyways, I had a long conversation with this guy, and he was saying like, man, where I come from, like, you know, you can't find jobs this good. This is like the best job I've ever worked. I don't even work half the day, and I get paid so well. And these people complain about it still, right? So the government's striking. They're having this discussion, right? Again, on this idea of like different economic systems, different ways of thinking about money. A lot of people are commenting. They're saying, well, the government workers work very easy jobs. They work easy jobs. They have more benefits than the average Canadian. They get paid more than other industries. And they get paid more for equal work. So if you work in the government in the same industry, you make a bit more money. So the lesson to take away, kids, is if you can, get a government job. You'll get a really nice pension if you choose to do your whole career there. You get good benefits, assuming you're full-time work, an actual employee. And you might not even work. I had a friend, he worked several government jobs. He said every day, this is funny, I was texting him once, just on Facebook, in the middle of the workday. He said he had taken an hour-long nap. He woke up scared, thinking, oh, I'm gonna get fired. He said he picked his head up, he looked around the office, he said no one was there. And then he just went back to sleep. It's bananas, kids. Last question. Look at you packing up. You're so excited to leave my class. It's so sad. You're breaking my heart. What's your last question? Yes and no. It's kind of.
Please
Not
excuse
really.
the interruption. That was not